Just doing things for my city. You know I love staying home. Don't even try that. Sometimes you walk around not knowing where to go. But that is the point, you just go where you feel. The most telling moment from Shedeur Sanders this offseason did not happen on a practice field. It happened in Toronto on a subway, trying to catch a Blue Jays game without tickets in an unfamiliar city. And how he did right there, how he carried himself and handled every surprise obstacle with that trademark cool, calm poise, and creative problem solving he brings to a broken play that is the side of Shedeur Sanders the NFL media elite will never show you. Because this angle does not fit the narrative they have manufactured. This side is too human, too likable, too real. And something very specific went down on that Toronto trip, a brief moment most fans missed. But you and I can see it actually tells us everything about where the quarterback's head is before the 2026 season. It connects directly to his readiness to lead that Cleveland Browns quarterback room when his number is called. We will get there, but first, we must break down what that trip actually looked like. This tape reveals a unique side of his character that standard press conferences and depth chart debates will never capture. Shedeur Sanders walked into Canada the same way he approaches everything. Loose, present, not performing for the cameras, not curating an image, just enjoying a new city with his inner circle, letting the day come to them. The crew explores the streets, debating sandwiches they cannot name, arguing over which way they are going on the subway map. They end up at a Dundas Square Mall and cross paths with a fan sporting his dad's jersey. A stranger in a Canadian city thousands of miles from Ohio, who woke up that morning, put on a Sanders jersey, and walked into that exact same building. Consider how Shedeur reacted to that moment. He did not brush it off. He stood there and spoke about perfect timing, and how when coincidences like that keep happening, it tells you something, that you are on the right track and the path you are walking is correct. That is not the reaction of a passer weighed down by NFL draft noise or quarterback controversies. That is the mindset of someone who has found his stride and is stepping forward without hesitation. We will come back to why that exact mindset is one of the most underrated traits a quarterback can bring into camp. The data on how intentional mental decompression boosts athletic performance is highly measurable. It is not just some soft talking point. But first, let's look at the Blue Jays game. Shedeur and his crew hit Rogers Center completely ticketless. None. They bought their Blue Jays jerseys, brought the energy, and had zero guaranteed entry. The way they handled that mess, working the crowd, finding a solution, and getting inside offers a clear window into how this passer operates when a play breaks down. Most viewers watching that vlog just laughed at the chaos. That was a mistake. Because what happened next, and what it reveals about how Shedeur is truly wired as a competitor, is the piece. Nobody is connecting to his 2026 readiness. What? What is up, homie? What up, bro? Chilling. Here's what that Blue Jays moment really reveals about how Shedeur Sanders is built. There is a rare category of athlete, much rarer than the highlights suggest, who actually excels when the system breaks down, when the play is dead, when the pocket collapses, when the playbook is thrown out. And success completely depends on reading what is right in front of you. These are the quarterbacks who make those crazy throws that end up on SportsCenter, not because the scheme worked, but because they refuse to let it fail. They improvise. They extend the play. They find solutions that are not in the playbook. Shedeur Sanders is that exact breed of passer. And Toronto gave us a real-world look at it, without pads or high stakes, which was incredibly telling. Now, you and I must connect this directly to the 2026 season directly. Because this is where the lifestyle vlog and the football argument become the same story. Sports science has been tracking the relationship between intentional mental decompression and athletic performance for over a decade. The data is consistent across all sports. Players who deliberately unplug from competitive mode during the offseason and fully immerse themselves in outside experiences, their sport, let their minds reset in genuinely low-stakes environments, and return to training with faster decision-making under fire, better processing, and elite emotional control in those clutch moments. Grinding in the pressure cooker year-round doesn't make you sharper. It makes you brittle. Just look at Shedeur's offseason from our perspective. The media, scrutiny, endless quarterback battles, depth chart rumors, and his father speaking on the hell he has survived, while critics dissect his press conference quotes. That is a massive amount of nonstop mental weight for a 22-year-old who hasn't even played a full NFL season. yet. But then he went to Toronto, rode the subway with his crew, got lost, and laughed about sandwiches. He crashed a baseball game, walked a mall, and got emotional seeing a fan in his jersey. That isn't dodging responsibility. That is exactly how an elite athlete recharges to compete at a championship level. Shedeur isn't running from the competition, he is refueling for it. And the guy who shows up to camp after a real reset is going to be sharper, more present, and far more dangerous than if he spent his summer suffocating under the relentless weight of the media machine. The players who become franchise quarterbacks, who survive those brutal first 2 or 3 years of pressure to emerge as real leaders, they share one trait that standard analytics cannot fully capture. They know exactly who they are off the field, with an identity that doesn't collapse under media attacks or when depth chart decisions go against them. That self-belief is the foundation for everything else. And what that Toronto footage shows, the ease, the humor, the pure joy of exploring with people he trusts, proves he has that exact foundation locked in. That matters more for his 2026 performance than any single practice rep. A quarterback who knows who he is away from the game is a leader who won't break when things get tough. And believe me, the game in Cleveland is going to get tough. The AFC North is no soft landing. Baltimore is built to hunt quarterbacks all day. Pittsburgh's defense is historically disruptive. Cincinnati is hungry. Every single week will test Sanders' composure in ways that minicamp and OTAs simply cannot simulate. The quarterback who enters that gauntlet with a full mental tank, who has laughed, who has been reminded he is a person before he is a player, who has stood in a Canadian mall and felt the unexpected warmth of a random fan's faith that quarterback handles adversity much better than one grinding away in isolation since January. Shedeur Sanders went to Toronto and came back more prepared for 2026 than his critics will ever comprehend. That trip wasn't a distraction, it was maintenance. And the playmaker who shows up to training camp with a refreshed identity is the most dangerous version of Shedeur Sanders this league has ever seen. Cleveland fans, we have to stop letting the media define what real preparation looks like. A quarterback who can get around a foreign city, charm his way into a baseball game, and connect authentically with fans across 2 different nations, while still finding time to reflect on his ultimate timing and purpose. That signal caller is not unprepared. He is ready for this run in ways analytics cannot measure and talking heads cannot diminish. Let's look at the bottom line. This trip wasn't a vacation from the quarterback battle. It was a strategic, intentional reset that separates the good players from the elite ones. Shedeur showed up in Canada with zero agenda, found joy in the chaotic moments, shared real interactions with traveling supporters, and brought back a psychological edge that no amount of practice reps can ever manufacture. A clear mind heading into the most critical season of his entire young career. My analysis? The version of Shedeur Sanders who arrives at camp for 2026 will be the most focused, confident, and explosive player this franchise has ever seen. And those critics who spent all summer debating his media quotes will spend the regular season scratching their heads trying to explain his success. To follow this journey with me, hit that subscribe button right now and stay locked into Gridiron Insights. Tell me in the comments, do you think trips like this actually elevate a quarterback's play, or should Sanders have stayed in Ohio grinding tape all day? Let me know. Give us your take below. Subscribe to Gridiron Insights, and we'll see you next time.